I heard that and I was like, oh, this is like the dumbest idea I've ever heard. I was a longtime business journalist. I was at Fortune, Forbes, Wired. My last traditional media job was I was the head of content for Fortune.com, Fortune Digital. And we were building an app at the time and I needed an API for this app. So I flew to LinkedIn. LinkedIn at the time was really profiles, kind of resumes, and you connect with people.
Yeah.
And after the meeting, the CEO approached me and said, hey, we're going to get into content. His thinking was, we need to be a place where people come all the time. And content, he was an ex-Yahoo guy. He was like, content brings people back all the time. Said to me, why don't you come and join us and build out our content efforts on LinkedIn? I heard that and I was like, oh, this is like the dumbest idea I've ever heard.
Yeah, this makes no sense.
It makes no sense. So I'm back to my wife in New York and I was like, I just heard like this ridiculous idea.
Yeah.
And then the more I thought about it, the more I was like, oh, they can do this.
Yeah.
Like I got to be part of it.
Yeah.
And so that was 15 years ago.
Do you have certain like 10 poles that are like, this was LinkedIn one, LinkedIn, like what is the evolution?
100%.
How do you describe the evolution of LinkedIn?
I'm going to tell you the evolution of LinkedIn through my eyes. So this is
Of
probably
course,
different
yeah.
people at LinkedIn probably explain
That's
it
what we
different
need.
ways.
Yeah.
When I started, we had no content. And then we had something called LinkedIn Today, which was like a news aggregation. And the idea was you come to LinkedIn, and if you were in marketing, you would see the top articles that people in marketing were reading today. And what we discovered was people liked it. They didn't love it, but it was kind of a commodity product. And even when we got the algorithm a little bit better, the editors got better, no one really cared that much.
Yeah.
And my then boss at the time, who then became LinkedIn's CEO, said, the only way we're going to win is with original content. We need people to have original thoughts on LinkedIn. And there's a guy named Ryan Roslansky, he's now the head of Microsoft Office products and LinkedIn. And he pitched this idea of allowing people to blog. At first it was just long form content. Let's let them blog on LinkedIn. And he pitched it to Reid Hoffman, the founder, and to Jeff Weiner, the then CEO. And both those guys were like, terrible idea.
Yeah.
This is like, no one is going to write long form. No one's going to read long form
Yeah.
on LinkedIn. This is like going to be a
Because you're
disaster.
in your head like a long form next to a resume.
Yeah.
You're like,
like,
shouldn't
how
that be
does it work?
somewhere
Where's it going to
else?
show up?
Yeah.
And you need to build a follow button. There's like all these things that were going to
Yeah.
screw up LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And they eventually said to Ryan, all right, look, you can try it. And if it doesn't work, basically it's your funeral.
Yeah.
And then Ryan left that meeting. He called me up. He was like, all right, we're moving into original content. I was like,
Damn.
great. Who do we want? And he was like, that's all on you now. And so that's the next phase. We went from curation to original.
Yeah.
And then we started with just like 150 people who were like handpicked, like Jamie Dimon and Indra Nooyi from Pepsi at the time, and Barack Obama and Mitt Romney, and they all said yes.
What year is this?
This would have been 2012. They started posting these long articles.
Yeah.
And it was cool, but what really blew my mind and what changed how I thought about what was possible was the comments. I come from Fortune and in digital media where the comments were always cesspools
Yeah.
of people just telling you were like
A
left
hack.
wing, right wing, this, then like everyone, yeah, you're just a hack. It was trolls. It was awful. And our comments were good.
Yeah.
And I hadn't really thought about it, but it was like, oh, when people are writing when their resume is attached to it,
Totally.
like when their boss is going to see what they say, they're
Yeah.
actually thoughtful.
Yeah.
And the comments were amazing. Jamie Dimon would post some like fine article, and there would be thousands of really great comments. And it was like, oh, we can get anyone talking.
Yeah.
And then,
Damn.
so that was like the next phase was then, so we went from aggregated content to original content written by only what we call the influencers, like these 150 people, to being like, we have to open this up to everyone.
Yeah.
And that was the third wave that was allowing anyone to start posting. And then I would say the latest wave is really in the last probably year with the rise of the creator economy. And what we're seeing now is creators who are not influencers anymore. They are people who are building their own businesses
Yeah.
out of content.
Yeah.
And finding that LinkedIn is the place to build like a durable audience around niche areas. Like there's like these B2B creators who cover topics that you wouldn't, like they're not sexy topics at all. It's like, medical supplies. And so it goes from these niche topics all the way up to sports.
Yeah.
And seeing that you can have really smart, thoughtful conversations on the internet that don't devolve into trolling.
Yeah.
And that so much is possible once you just start having these real identities posting real thoughts
Yeah.
in kind of an authentic way. So that's the latest stage I would say we're
It's
at.
even more real than any other social platform, right? Like any other social platform, you can at least get to the profile, but this is like your employer's looking at. You don't post anything here that you don't want your employer to see.
It's exactly right.
Which
Your
is
future employer and
the best, the least trolly version of you.
Totally.
Possible.
It makes it harder, I will just say, from like a content perspective. We're definitely doing this with one hand tied behind our back because it is much easier to post if you're anonymous. So if you want to
of course.
grow a content ecosystem, you don't
Yeah.
like have these kind of rules about real identity. But the real identity is what keeps, there's two things. Like one, it is what keeps it non-trolling, as you said. The other is in an AI era where anyone can say anything and sound smart. Your identity tells you whether what this person is saying matches who they are.
So I started this at the end of 2018.
Yeah.
And what happened then was I went from working at a 500 person company to being alone
Where were you?
in my Chinatown apartment. So I was just in my Chinatown apartment building this agency, and I had no outlet to talk to anybody. And I developed kind of like a drinking problem because I would just try to go out every other day because I was like this. And then I started writing on LinkedIn. It was kind of like having a coworker to talk to and tell what I was doing. And I gathered the most incredibly honest and incredibly supportive community. And that's where I got all my business because I didn't have any, I wasn't a person who had any contacts. It changed the way, at that time you could just start a business if you had the relationships or had the money, and I had neither, and my generation of people started businesses on LinkedIn. And that was way more beneficial for us because we didn't need the contacts, we just had to be interesting. And we also didn't need the capital because interesting was our capital.
That's exactly it.
So if I wrote something interesting, someone saw it, they were like, this guy knows what he's talking about, let's go talk to him.
Yeah.
And it changed the way we do business. I want to talk about the next, where LinkedIn is today.
Yeah.
Where when I was writing stuff, people would come up to me and be like, that's a LinkedIn guy.
Right.
Because it was a very specific who writes on LinkedIn.
Yeah, totally.
You know, that's that LinkedIn guy.
Right.
And I would get that all the time. You're that LinkedIn guy.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah. And at that time,
That's a
I
sign
didn't,
there's not enough content. If people can identify you from your platform.
and
know.
you're saying you're the LinkedIn guy.
Right.
Now, not the case, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's like writing on LinkedIn. There is LinkedIn being a primarily, I would say, written platform. Would you agree?
It
Or
is,
born from a written platform?
What it is not is primarily a video platform.
Right.
So there's like text, images, carousels, all those do well, and then there's video, which is the fastest growing, but it is not like a TikTok or an Instagram or anything
So
like
with
that.
so much AI content, especially AI written spoken word, how do you think the content has changed, and how do you think, what are good ways ahead or bad ways ahead?
Yeah. It's a great question. It is something that we talk about internally all the time. We started seeing the rise of this. We started seeing this really incredible growth of content, original content creation, right at the birth of ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And you realize what people were doing was just going to ChatGPT is amazing for turning out content that makes you sound smart.
Yeah.
And that started coming onto LinkedIn in both comments and in original posts. The last year, we've spent a ton of time and resources developing classifiers that don't fight AI. Because our belief is that it's okay to use AI to do anything, to post videos, to post text. AI is a tool, but if you are not being authentic, that's a problem. And so our classifiers are looking at things, are really like focused on AI slop and generic content. And so increasingly, the problem with AI, I don't know if I'm from the South originally, I'm from Kentucky, and there's this problem in the South with kudzu. Have you ever heard of this? This is like this imported, it's this non-native vine, came from Japan after World War II. And it is just taken over the trees in the South. And you see this, like you'll drive down the highway and you'll see these, what looks like beautiful green foliage, and you're like, oh, it's just kudzu growing over everything. And you have to kind of like peel these vines away. And the AI content is sort of like that. It smothers the authentic original content from other people. And so what we're trying to do now is just sort of identify that kudzu and say, don't give this to distribution.
Interesting.
Or like non-network distribution.
Of course, yeah.
So if your network wants to hear you post AI slop, that's their choice. They want to hear that. But when we send it to people who are not in your network, and increasingly that's what the feed is doing, is matching you to topical content, then we can't be serving people up AI slop or AI generated non-authentic content.
Got
So
it.
we're focusing a lot on, is this generic? Does it look generic? Like, and you've seen this, you've been on LinkedIn long enough to know that line, space, line, space. Like, we're like, generic. Stop promoting that stuff. Stop distributing that outside of people's networks. So that starts getting hurt. Bland leadership content that could have been written by anyone, not going to get distributed. And over time, we're learning how to do this better and better so that we can clear space for you to do things like sit under beach, umbrellas, and have real conversations with people. Like, and that's what should grow.
The primary, I know, so I want to talk about video next.
Yeah.
Obviously, very invested in LinkedIn video. I make my biggest piece of marketing that I ever do every year is this video that only goes on LinkedIn, basically. Tell me about video and its growth.
Yeah.
What have you seen that has worked, and what have been the challenges of it becoming a primarily
That's a great
video platform? And is that the goal?
Yeah. The goal is to get relevant, topical content, relevant, timely, and topical content to the right people at the right time, so that if you are a member and you're trying to do something with your company or your career, you'll see some piece of content that helps you get ahead.
Right.
So that's how we think about this. We always start from this member perspective. Why do people choose to open LinkedIn? You have a million other apps you can go to. Why do they open LinkedIn? They open LinkedIn because it's an investment in their time. They want to connect with someone, they want to learn something, they want to discover something that will be helpful for their careers. So we start there. Then we think, what's the content that's going to help do that? If that's video content, great. If it's text content, great. Photos, fine. We don't really have a strong point of view about which kind of content needs to win. Now, that being said, if you look at the generational cuts, Gen Z likes learning from video content.
Right.
So we have to be invested in, and it's not just Gen Z, but Gen Z overweights on video content.
Yeah.
So we have to make sure that we have really strong, interesting, high quality, topical video content surging through LinkedIn. So that's been a big investment in making sure that we have that, but not at the expense of any other kind of content. Now, the feedback we get is people are like, there's not enough videos on LinkedIn, or there's too much video on LinkedIn, and you can't satisfy everyone.
Totally.
But you start developing a feed that knows your preference and tries to get you the right media mix at the right time.
Yeah.
And so that's really where we're focused. We hear from Gen Z all the time that what they want is, they want more video content. They want video content from people who are in their generation. They want people who are only one rung beyond where they are.
Interesting.
Because they're like, careers don't make sense anymore. I don't believe you who did this 10 years ago, I don't believe that path exists anymore. I only want to hear someone one step ahead of me.
That's so true. I always say, you have to ask advice people two steps away from you. Usually if I'm this is how to get into advertising, it's probably wrong now.
Right, exactly.
It's impossible. It's also revisionist history.
Totally.
I don't remember.
Yeah, right. You only remember exactly how well it worked versus how hard.
I'm going to ask you an unrelated question because I think I would just love to know what you think. Do you think with us typing less, in the future, does language change, or the purpose of language change when the input is changing?
Yeah, that's what you're saying. I think that for some people, the process of writing is how they think. That is true for me. When I use AI to be able to do my writing, it feels like it's faster, and then I read it and I'm like, oh, I don't even know what this means.
Not even the dictation.
Yeah.
You do, dictation, okay.
So now I try to write. Now what I do is I write and then I give it to the AI. I'm like, how would you improve this, or what do you think?
Right.
And you can tell, I could tell there was a month where I was just having AI write my internal emails.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, no one's actually responding to these.
Yeah,
They're
they lost
this
their
is terrible.
thing.
Yeah, there's no voice.
Just
in
as
here
you
at
were
all.
talking about the platform, which...
That's exactly it. So I don't think, and I talk to my kids, I have a kid who's in college and one who's about to go. And, they have a very interesting perspective on AI, which is they see it as a very flawed tool. They make fun of people that use it too much. And they treasure authenticity. They want to see people making mistakes and dropping out of the camera frame. And, they find AI Slop to be really funny. But they don't treasure it, and they don't think it's that good. And so that kind of gives me hope for humanity. But I think that, and I also think it goes back to your question about video, which is one of the things that we see video performing so well on LinkedIn is, for now, you kind of can't start with AI for your video. You can use AI to cut it.
Yeah.
But you got to stand in front of the camera and try to talk. And so one of our top performing creators on LinkedIn who would hate to be called a creator, is John Gray, who's the COO of Blackstone.
Yeah.
And he does these running, I don't know if you've ever seen these, he does these running videos where he's running like, he's like a master of the universe, he's running one of the biggest companies in the world. And he just takes his phone and he holds it up wherever he's traveling and he does a running video. He's super sweaty. He's like, the camera is off and not even on his face.
Amazing.
And people, they do well on LinkedIn. And he was like, my employees love it, my customers love it. It's
Amazing.
the start of every conversation.
Amazing.
Just like you were saying, like,
yeah.
they're like, oh, you're the running guy.
Yeah.
And I think that video captures that in a way that text doesn't. So I do see video being this kind of authentic layer that that's kind of where video starts to really win.
Talk to me about, you're from a publication, from an institutional publication, and now you're also a publication with a different business model. Talk to me about where journalism goes as a classic journalist.
Yeah.
Where does journalism go in this world? Where does it find itself new homes like you have put one in LinkedIn?
Yeah. I am probably more optimistic about the future of journalism than maybe a lot of my peers because I see the ability, it really goes back to the creator economy. And the ability for somebody who is passionate about a subject to build a durable business out of just covering that subject is something that didn't exist 5-6 years ago.
Totally.
And you can have your journalism, you can have subscribers, those subscribers pay you, though who your subscribers are and who follows you on LinkedIn turns into better CPMs for anything that you're doing.
Yeah.
You get sponsor deals, you do events.
Yeah.
Like that is possible for an entrepreneurial journalist. I think the world is yours. And I would hope they would I'm counting on them building those business, that at least the next version of business journalism is built on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I'll talk to journalism students in colleges, and when they tell me what they're passionate about, like I talked to someone at UNC not too long ago, who was like, I love amateur tennis. There's all these amateur tennis tournaments all over the world, and I like understanding how you put them on and how they make money. And I was like, you should just post about that on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
You can build a business out of that. You can do that for the rest of your life if you want.
Yeah.
And so I think if you have the skills, the training, the dedication, and the passion, you can build these strong businesses, and you don't have to go and try to get into the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, the New York Post, or wherever it is that used to be the gatekeepers.
Yeah.
Like you can make your own, you can make your own publication now.
Yeah.
And LinkedIn is the platform for that. So that's how I think about it.
Yeah. You kind of never know when you're starting off as a creator, but I created a lot on LinkedIn, and then I kind of have been quieter, or in my head, at least I'm not there. Tell me, I'm a LinkedIn creator that wants to start today.
Yeah.
What's the best way to get into this game?
Love it. All right, a couple things. One is just find an area that you're passionate about.
Yeah.
Start posting about it. And I wouldn't look at your metrics for the first 2 months.
Okay.
I would post 3 or 4 times a week about your area, and then I would comment. This is a thing people often don't think about. You want to leave 3 to 4 comments a day on other people's posts.
Okay.
Don't be gross about it. Hey, go read my post. You just want to give back.
Comment back, yeah.
Comment back. Give some, be thoughtful.
And it doesn't make you look...
It does not make you look anything. Just like, in fact, think about when you post a video and you see comments, you're not like, I can't believe people are commenting on my art.
Right.
You're like, thank you. Thank you for validating that this is actually good. Put yourself in the shoes of someone who is getting your comment, which is they are not going to be grossed out by it. They're going to be like... Posting on LinkedIn is often intimidating for people for exactly what you said.
Yeah.
And when you get someone to leave a thoughtful comment, especially, as a creator, you're like, oh, I am not talking to an empty room.
Someone's
That was
here.
not cringy. Someone is here. Thankfully, I'm like validated.
Yeah.
Great, I'm good to go. So comment 3 to 4 comments a day. And we give you the metrics on the comments. So you can see, we give you distribution metrics on everything that you're doing. But first 2 months, don't pay attention to that. Once you get up to, let's say, around 5,000, anywhere between 3,000 to 5,000 followers, I'd start a newsletter. And it depends on what your TAM is of your area. So if you are focused on, logistics software, you're probably not going to ever get 3,000 followers, but you might get the right 300 followers.
Right.
So scale this to your own niche.
Yep.
But when you get to a certain number that you feel is like, all right, I've now established, I feel like I'm on the way to being established, start a newsletter. Newsletters on LinkedIn have a superpower, which is when you start a newsletter on LinkedIn, we send a notification to everyone who is following and connected to you, saying
They have a newsletter.
Jane has a new newsletter. Do you want to go follow it? And then in the future, every time someone connects with you or follows with you, we also say you should follow their newsletter. You should subscribe to their newsletter.
Got it.
And then every time you post a newsletter, we send a notification, an email, and we put it in people's feeds.
Got it.
And so it's an incredible distribution.
Yeah.
So I would do that, and then start looking at your
And
metrics.
it's tied
at
to
that point.
the rest of your LinkedIn content, so it's
Exactly
not just like a standalone platform that you're promoting on LinkedIn and trying to get people
it's
to...
all integrated in there. I would encourage people to join the Creator Marketplace. This is just ramping up, so you have to hit a certain threshold that we haven't really announced yet.
Yeah.
But we will do that. If you can get into it, you want to do that. The thing that we've found is that these B2B brands who are advertising on LinkedIn, they are desperate to be associated with creator content.
Yeah.
When they put their brand with the creator, it performs better because there's this, we know that members care about authenticity, they trust creators,
Yeah.
and when they see the brand inside of it, they love it.
Yeah.
The B2B brands are struggling to find the right creators to work with. If you're a skincare company, super easy.
Yeah.
If you are doing, I don't know, railroad software, thank you, then there's probably only one creator that's right for you, and we will help you find that person that is great for you as a creator.
Yeah.
We make that match there, and then you start getting paid.
Talk to me about company pages versus personal pages.
Yeah.
What do certain perform better?
Personal pages perform better.
Yeah.
People
Have you
follow
seen
people.
good company pages? Or are they just a tough thing to be a constant creator on?
Company pages are hard.
Yeah.
They just got easier this week.
Okay.
Because this week at Cannes, we announced collaborative posts. Collaborative posts mean that you can now start posting with your company page.
Oh, that's great.
So this solves
I
this
usually
problem.
have them post it and then repost. This
Exactly.
is great.
It's done. So now you can collaborate with up to 5 people or 5
This is available
pages.
today.
It is. We just wrapped it to we whitelisted to certain
Soon.
creators that can
By
today.
then.
We will now, we will soon start ramping it to everyone.
Great.
And that ends that debate altogether of where you post from. The answer is now just yes.
Yeah.
Post for both.
Do you have one leader that you're the most impressed by?
There are people who, while they're talking, I will sometimes forget my questions because I'm so just locked in on what they've said. Jamie Dimon is one of those. CEO of JP Morgan. I've interviewed him a couple times, and he's just so thoughtful about the economy and about growing small businesses and smaller cities, and he's passionate, and he is just ridiculously smart.
Yeah.
So he's definitely one of my favorites. But I really like the kind of surprise people that people who I didn't expect. I was excited to interview them, but I wasn't expecting to get a lot out of it. So one was the CEO of Savannah Bananas.
Oh, yeah.
Phenomenal.
Entertaining guy, too, yeah.
And thoughtful about like how he's growing his business. Has like absolutely embraced the Walt Disney playbook, sees what he's building as bigger than sports. And I love people like that. So that's one. The CEO of Slutty Vegan, which is a fast food restaurant in Atlanta, and is now a chain. She was great. Danny Meyer, who was an investor in Slutty Vegan, love talking to Danny. So it's what I really love is people who are passionate, thoughtful, don't give like canned answers, and those are some of my favorites. And then I love the career stories. So the CEO of Johnson & Johnson is a really good one, who just talked about how he was like, he got to CEO just by saying yes to everything. And he was like,
whatever came his way kind of thing?
He was like, anyone, I was like, you're telling me that someone in the company came to you and just said, we want you to do this job in healthcare, like dog medicine. You just said yes without researching it? He was like, absolutely.
Yeah,
like,
damn.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And he was like, I just thought, they must have some reason for asking me to do it.
President Obama talks about that too. He's like, you want to be successful? I don't know if you've seen that video. It's just like, if you want to be successful, just take the hardest thing off somebody's plate and say you'll do it, and then do it on time, and then do that again.
Do you know what interview he said that to?
No. Oh, was that in you? Oh, cool. I've seen your content without knowing it's your content.
It's really funny. You know why? It's all over Instagram with me cut out. So if you want to see the original, go
Usually
to LinkedIn, but it's been totally clipped.
This is usually just you, and I'm not on it, but then the umbrella works or something.
It's funny.
I know you're short on time. Dude, thank you so much for
sure,
doing
absolutely.
This was awesome.
This is great.
I feel like I talked to you for 19 more hours.
It was terrific. I feel like I could do that too, except that I would just be a puddle here on the ground.
Yeah. You should get back.
So,
Dude, thanks.
So thank you very much.